Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Navneet Singh and with me is Ramya, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. New Delhi accuses Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka of violating basic diplomatic etiquette. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi urges countrymen to join Poshan Maha campaign in September to eliminate malnutrition. In Mann Ki Baat program, Mr. Modi asks people to come together to increase awareness about the use of millets. Large participation of people in Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Kwatra calls on UN General Assembly President Abdullah Shahid in New Delhi. Discusses further deepening of India's strong bilateral relations with Maldives. Foundation stones of Maruti Suzuki's new plants laid in Haryana and Gujarat. India and US Joint Special Forces exercise concludes at Bukla in Himachal Pradesh. In Pakistan, death toll crosses 1,000 in flood-related incidents. In Asia Cup Cricket T20 match, Pakistan set a victory target of 148 runs before India in Dubai. Indian judoka Linthoi Chanambam creates history, wins gold medal at World Cadet Judo Championships in Sarajevo. India has slammed the Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka for making some adverse comments against New Delhi over the docking of China's ship at Hambantota port. A report.
India had objected to the docking of the Chinese spy ship Yuan Wong 5 at the Sri Lankan port, citing security concerns. However, Colombo allowed it with certain conditions. Indian High Commission in Colombo issued a hard-hitting statement on Saturday saying the Chinese ambassador's violation of basic diplomatic etiquette may be a personal trait or reflecting a larger national attitude. The statement said, Chinese ambassador's view of Sri Lanka's northern neighbor may be colored by how his own country behaves, but India is very different. Indian High Commission said, opaqueness and debt-driven agendas are now a major challenge, especially for smaller nations. Recent developments are a caution. It added that Sri Lanka needs support, not unwanted pressure or unnecessary controversies to serve another country's agenda. Reshma Tiwari for World News, All India Radio.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stressed that efforts associated with the social awareness play an important role in tackling challenges of malnutrition. Mr. Modi urged the people to join campaign to remove malnutrition. The Prime Minister was addressing the nation through his Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio. He stated that Poshan Maha is celebrated every year from 1st to 30th of September. He urged everyone to make it a success. Mr. Modi gave an example of an interesting project being run in Bongaigaon of Assam, named Project Sampurna. The purpose of this project is to fight malnutrition.
असम के बोंगाई गांव में एक दिलचस्प परियोजना चलाई जा रही है, प्रोजेक्ट संपूर्णा। इस प्रोजेक्ट का मकसद है कुपोषण के खिलाफ लड़ाई और इस लड़ाई का तरीका भी बहुत यूनिक है। इसके तहत किसी आंगनवाड़ी केंद्र के एक स्वस्थ बच्चे की मां एक कुपोषित बच्चे की मां से हर सप्ताह मिलती है और पोषण से संबंधित सारी जानकारियों पर चर्चा करती है। यानी एक मां दूसरी मां की मित्र बन उसकी मदद करती है, उसे सीख देती है। इस प्रोजेक्ट की मदद से इस क्षेत्र में एक साल में 90% से ज्यादा बच्चों में कुपोषण दूर हुआ है।
The United Nations has passed a resolution declaring the year 2023 as the International Year of Millets. Mr. Modi exuded pride that this proposal of India was accepted by more than 70 countries.
पिछले कुछ समय से भारत में कोई भी जब विदेशी मेहमान आते हैं, राष्ट्राध्यक्ष भारत आते हैं, तो मेरी कोशिश रहती है कि भोजन में भारत के मिलेट्स यानी हमारे मोटे अनाज से बनी हुई डिशेज बनवाऊं। और अनुभव यह आया है इन महानुभावों को यह डिशेज बहुत पसंद आती है और हमारे मोटे अनाज के संबंध में, मिलेट्स के संबंध में काफी कुछ जानकारियां एकत्र करने का वो प्रयास भी करते हैं। मिलेट्स, मोटे अनाज, प्राचीन काल से ही हमारे एग्रीकल्चर, कल्चर और सिविलाइजेशन का हिस्सा रहे हैं।
Prime Minister Modi also expressed happiness that the collective might of the country was on full display during Independence Day. He lauded soldiers for hoisting the tricolor on the peaks of mountains, on the nation's borders and in the middle of the sea. He said people also came up with different innovative ideas for the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. He said that he recently attended a program of Information and Broadcasting Ministry where Doordarshan's serial Swaraj was screened. The serial is telecast every Sunday at 9 p.m. on Doordarshan and is going to continue for 75 weeks. He urged everyone to watch it and show it to children as well. Touching the topic of Digital India, Mr. Modi hailed the new digital entrepreneurs rising in the country. He stated that the internet has changed the way students study and learn. Mr. Modi said, National Sports Day will be celebrated on Monday on the birth anniversary of Major Dhyan Chand. He concluded his address by saying that the young sportspersons raising the glory of nation's tricolor on global forums will be a fitting tribute to Major Dhyan Chand.
India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Kwatra called on UN General Assembly President Abdullah Shahid in New Delhi on Sunday. The UNGA President arrived in New Delhi on a two-day visit to India on Sunday morning. Mr. Kwatra congratulated him on his presidency of hope and for his visionary leadership in the 76th session of the UNGA. They also discussed further deepening of India's strong bilateral relations with Maldives. In today's Hotspot section, we have a discussion on Khadi for Nation, Khadi for Fashion. In conversation are Chitra Chandrasekhar, Visual Communication Designer, and Sonu Sood, AIR Correspondent.
Speaking at the Khadi Utsav organized on the banks of Sabarmati River, Ahmedabad yesterday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the pledge of Khadi for Transformation has been added to the pledge of Khadi for Nation and Khadi for Fashion. He said in the last 8 years, production of Khadi has grown 4 times. For the first time, its turnover has crossed rupees 1 lakh crore and top brands are showing interest in this traditional fabric of India. Chitra ji, how do you see the emerging role of Khadi in India and what is the significance of organizing events like Khadi Utsav?
Khadi as a word reminds me of our national flag and the indigo blue wheel in the center of our national flag. So at one time we used to refer to this as the charkha, which was a symbol of non-violent and a creative way of revolting and asking for freedom from colonial rule. So starting from those early days to now, it has come a very, very long way, diversified into many different products which are of a contemporary relevant usage, and with constant support and cooperation with fashion designers and contemporary designers, diversification has helped Khadi reach to not just the elite and the luxury segment, but also it has grown out from a grassroots level where people in the villages have been able to identify with the craft and contributed to the growth of Khadi in a very big way. So I look forward to more festivals like these where Khadi is celebrated, and it always remains as a memory in our national culture that new generations also keep connected to the roots of why Khadi is literally a fabric of the nation.
Chitraji, during the Khadi Utsav, in keeping with completion of 75 years of Indian independence, 7,500 women Khadi artisans from various districts of Gujarat spun the charkha simultaneously. What is the role of women in promotion of Khadi, and can you tell us more about the concept and benefits of community weaving?
The idea of community weaving is very powerful in this context because the kind of community weaving I'm able to do with stories and storytelling is a metaphoric kind of a weaving, whereas for women who are Khadi weavers and Khadi spinners, for them it's a real fact because it has grown like that from one woman to another, and how many movements in India have had women as the key bearers, culture bearers, and this again reminds me of the village in Karnataka in the Dharwad district, Bengeri village, which has the sole license to make the national flag. how it is a cooperative act of all of the women who were first employed, the unemployed women who were first given the task of spinning the cotton, weaving the yarn, and then stitching them together. So this is happening across smaller districts in Karnataka. So the role of women here is actually of primal importance, because it's also not just an act of employment, it's also an act of sisterhood that emerges, this act of stitching and weaving and spinning. And if this could grow from one village to another village, I can see it grow from one country to another country. So this is not just an act of skill sharing, but it's also a concept of sharing the spirit of self-reliance and commitment to self-growth and progress. So this is very much what Gandhi had talked about in Purna Swaraj or Swaraj. So yes, women have a very great role of not just reaching out to fellow women, but also passing on the values to the next generation through their own families.
Absolutely. Chitraji, khadi is an example of sustainable and eco-friendly clothing and an ideal fabric for countries with high temperatures. Do you see the Prime Minister's dream of khadi for nation, khadi for fashion becoming a reality, and khadi not only promoting development and self-reliance in the country, but also gaining worldwide significance and outreach?
Very much. I think khadi, through the work of a lot of contemporary fashion designers, has already made its mark as a versatile fabric, as something that can be seen as in non-traditional silhouettes and forms as a clothing material. But khadi has also seen itself transform into a fabric that can be molded into any everyday contemporary modern lifestyle product, of lifestyle use in the household or in work use or anything. So its versatility has now been proven in the last few years. Going forward, I see it as a model of transformation which India has championed, that some other country can also follow. And this idea of sustainable development and sustainable growth has also been a reaction to the discourse around climate change and global warming. And with raising temperatures, one is looking at a lifestyle that adapts to this rising temperature. One would need clothing that is more versatile. Instead of switching between warm and hot clothes, what if khadi could be that versatile fabric that keeps you warm and cool in varying weathers? So as a solution to the lifestyle problem, also as a model of innovation that any other country can emulate and learn from and localize, I think India can be that role model for any other country. So yes, it surely has a lot of power.
In his address yesterday, the Prime Minister asked all Indians to give products of Khadi Gramodyog as gifts in the upcoming festive seasons and include khadi in their wardrobes to give a boost to the vocal for local movement. He cited the recent success achieved in the toy industry. Do you see khadi industry also achieving similar success in the coming times?
Yes, I think it has come a long way, and a very good move by the Khadi Village Industries Commission has been to launch their own e-commerce platform so that they can be relevant and actually stand side by side to some of the other e-commerce platforms that youth of the country are now accessing with a flick of a button in their mobile phones. So it makes these grassroots makers and producers directly connect with their end users and consumers. So the platform itself is a very good move, and the platform also mentions or invites people to become khadipreneurs, and that gives a boost to the way khadi will be accepted and created and how it transforms in changing the way the marketplace looks. So gifts and festivities are occasions for us to give gifts, and somewhere khadi has this very subtle link with anything that's handmade. Hands have a great place in our culture in India, whether it is hand to greet someone with generosity or gift someone with generosity. I think in keeping that theme in line, gifting of khadi will just reinforce that theme of Indianness even in 21st century. So that's a very great suggestion by the Prime Minister, and also for youngsters and the youth of the country, which India can pride to have a very young population, will probably be able to take this vision forward by supporting khadi and also being active consumers of khadi.
The Prime Minister said years back khadi became the strength of the freedom movement, and the Khadi Utsav is an inspiration to achieve future glory for India, for the new India, he said. What, according to you, has been and will be the role of designers like you in increasing the popularity of khadi among people?
I feel The role we play starts from where we start learning. So it starts from our design schools and our classrooms, where knowing this history and seeing it as a part of Indian heritage and Indian history of design, because the spinning wheel is itself is an epitome of design, which is indigenous, and it is moving on from there about the kind of varieties it has diversified from just using cotton as a fiber, but also weaving silk and woolen threads, and how it's being adapted with the interface with technology coming in. So there's a whole history and legacy attached to the various designs in Khadi. So it starts with the design schools and design classrooms, and also pushing it towards the stage of business development and innovation, which not just looks at something far-fetched and completely techno-based, but also involving the weaving communities and creating sustainable business models where not just consumerist ideas are there, but actually reaching out to other sectors. So I'm looking at not consumer products alone, but maybe even healthcare or hospitality, or even innovative entrepreneurial grassroots development happening with Khadi as a centerpiece of ecosystem change. So yes, I feel designers have a role in being mindful and sensitive of this legacy and being mindful of adding it as a fuel to what is Indian design.
So Khadi for Nation, Khadi for Fashion, to Khadi for Transformation brings immense benefits not only for India but the entire world, with the hope and belief that collective efforts will catapult the Khadi movement to a revolution. We thank you, Chitraji, for this inspiring discussion.
Thank you.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back to World News. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a program at Gandhinagar in Gujarat Sunday evening to mark 40 years of Maruti Suzuki in India. On the occasion, the Prime Minister also laid the foundation stones virtually for EV battery manufacturing plant at Hasalpur in Gujarat and vehicle manufacturing facility at Kharkhoda in Haryana. Speaking at the event, Mr. Modi said, electric vehicles EV are bringing a silent revolution in the country and will help India cut down on its carbon emissions. He said the government is offering range of incentives to EV manufacturers to boost the demand in the country.
आज एक और गुजरात में इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल बैटरी के प्रोडक्शन के लिए एम्बिशियस प्लांट का शिलान्यास हो रहा है, तो साथ ही हरियाणा में नई कार मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फैसिलिटी की शुरुआत भी हो रही है। मैं मानता हूं ये विस्तार सुजुकी के लिए भविष्य की अपार संभावनाओं का आधार बनेगा। साथियों, मारुति सुजुकी सफलता भारत जापान की मजबूत पार्टनरशिप का भी प्रतीक है। बीते 8 वर्षों में तो हम दोनों देशों के बीच ये रिश्ते नई ऊंचाइयां तक गए हैं। आज गुजरात महाराष्ट्र में बुलेट ट्रेन से लेकर उत्तर प्रदेश में बनारस के रुद्राक्ष सेंटर तक विकास की कितनी ही परियोजनाएं भारत जापान दोस्ती का उदाहरण है।
T. Suzuki from Suzuki Group said, India has been one of the biggest markets for Suzuki. Out of the total vehicles manufactured by Suzuki Group across the world, 60% are produced in India. The 13th edition of India and the United States Joint Special Forces exercise Vajra Prahar 2022 culminated at Bukla in Himachal Pradesh on Sunday. The Defense Ministry said this exercise with the US Special Forces is significant in terms of security challenges faced by both nations in the backdrop of the current global situation. The joint military exercise has further strengthened the traditional bond of friendship between the special forces of both nations. This annual exercise is hosted alternatively between India and the United States. The 21-day joint training provided an opportunity for the special forces from both nations to train in airborne operations, special operations and counter-terrorism operations in a joint environment under United Nations Charter.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has approved the third positive indigenization list of 780 strategically important line replacement units, subsystems and components. They will only be procured from Indian industry after the timelines indicated in the list. This list is in continuation to the 2 positive indigenization lists that were published in December last year and March this year. These lists contain 2,500 items which are already indigenized and 458 items which will be indigenized within the given timelines. In Pakistan, over 1,000 people have died and millions have been displaced in the flood that has wreaked havoc across the country. Pakistan National Disaster Management Authority said the monsoon rains have killed 119 people in the last 24 hours. In the northwest of the country, thousands of people fled their homes after rivers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province burst their banks, causing powerful flash floods. The province of Sindh in the southeast of the country has also been badly affected, with thousands displaced from their homes.
Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public sector broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for the 1.3 billion citizens across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with the series Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashwani Ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the storytelling of All India Radio. In today's episode, we bring you the story of Balakot Airstrike of 2019.
Balakot Airstrike is the first aerial shoot-down carried out after the Indo-Pak War by India in Pakistan in retaliation of the Pulwama attack by Pakistan-based terrorists. The Pulwama attack occurred on 14 February 2019 when a convoy of vehicles of Central Reserve Police Force CRPF on the Jammu-Srinagar National Highway was attacked by a vehicle-borne suicide bomber at Lethpura in the Pulwama district of Jammu and Kashmir. The attack killed 40 CRPF Jawans. The responsibility for the attack was claimed by the Pakistan-based terrorist group Jaish-e-Mohammed or JEM. Prime Minister Narendra Modi condemned the attack and expressed solidarity with the victims and their families.
मैं आतंकी संगठनों को और उनके सरपरस्तों को कहना चाहता हूं कि वे बहुत बड़ी गलती कर चुके हैं। बहुत बड़ी कीमत उनको चुकानी पड़ेगी। मैं देश को भरोसा देता हूं कि हमले के पीछे जो ताकतें हैं, इस हमले के पीछे जो भी गुनहगार हैं, उन्हें उनके किए की सजा अवश्य मिलेगी.
In response to the attack on February 26, the Indian Air Force struck a JEM terrorist camp at Balakot, located in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan. At least 12 Mirage 2000 fighter jets of the IAF carried out non-military preemptive air strikes across line of control in Pakistan's Balakot and destroyed a massive Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist camp in which a large number of terrorists were also eliminated. Addressing a joint press briefing after the strike, Air Vice Marshal R.G.K. Kapoor said that its airstrikes on JEM's training camp in Pakistan's Balakot was successful and managed to destroy the intended targets.
There is fairly credible evidence with us which proves that there was damage to the camps. The weapons hit the intended target and they caused the damage that was intended.
Major General Surinder Singh Mahal from the army said, "Our fight is with terrorism. Till Pakistan supports it, we are ready to target all its terrorist camps and training areas."
हमारा लड़ाई जो है टेररिज्म के साथ है, तो जब तक पाकिस्तान इसको इस तरह से सपोर्ट करता रहेगा, हम उनके जितने भी टेररिस्ट कैंप्स और जितने भी उसके ट्रेनिंग एरियाज हैं, उनको हम टारगेट करने के लिए तैयार हैं.
Navy Rear Admiral D.S. Gujral said, "Forces are ready for any misadventure by Pakistan and are ready for resolute action. We want to ensure safety and security of our citizens."
The Indian Navy is deployed in a high state of readiness and remains poised in all three dimensions, on surface, undersea and in air, to deter, prevent and defeat any misadventure by Pakistan in the maritime domain. I can assure you of a resolute, swift and strong response by the Navy when needed.
Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashwani Ke Saath can be accessed on at AIR News Alerts on Twitter, News on Air official YouTube channel, News on Air app, Facebook and Instagram handles. So tune into All India Radio News for Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashwani Ke Saath. The Supertech's 40-story twin towers Apex and Siene were demolished in Noida at Gautam Budh Nagar district of Uttar Pradesh at 2:30 p.m. on Sunday in pursuance of Supreme Court's order over violation of construction laws. According to the demolition firm Edifice Engineering, over 3,500 kg of explosives were used to raise the nearly 100-meter tall twin towers.
In cricket, chasing the victory target of 148 runs set by Pakistan, defending champions India were 84 for 3 in 13.2 overs in Asia Cup T20 tournament at Dubai International Stadium when reports last came in. Put into bat first, Pakistan were bowled out for 147 in 19.5 overs, with Mohammad Rizwan scoring the highest of 43 runs for the team. For India, Bhuvneshwar Kumar picked up 4 wickets while Hardik Pandya took 3 and Arshdeep Singh scalped 2 wickets. Earlier, India won the toss and elected to field first against arch-rivals Pakistan. India have so far won the title for the record of 7 times. This is Virat Kohli's 100th T20 international game. With this, Virat Kohli becomes the first Indian to play 100 matches in all the 3 formats. Indian judoka Linthoi Channambam made history as she won the gold medal at the World Cadet Judo Championships 2022 in the women's 57 kg category at Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. The teenager from Manipur is the first Indian to win gold in the World Judo Championships in any category. The 16-year-old Linthoi Channambam beat Brazilian Bianca Reis in the Pan American Junior Champion in the final by Vajra.
Let us now take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Globe and Mail reports that Swiss group will launch petition to rethink nuclear power closure plans. The Guardian writes, Pakistan declares floods as climate catastrophe as death toll tops 1,000. The Financial Times reports EU set to suspend visa travel agreement with Russia. The Wall Street Journal says the US sent warships through the Taiwan Strait for the first time since House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taipei.
The Newsday Express report says China is furious over Indo-US military exercise near LAC. The Hindu reports that India has, for the first time, referred to what it called the militarization of the Taiwan Strait, marking a rare instance of New Delhi appearing to comment on China's action towards Taiwan. My Republica reports that Indian ambassador to Nepal, Naveen Srivastav, has said that India is considering lifting the ban on export of wheat and sugar to Nepal. Dawn report says that Pakistan witnessed another day of deaths and devastation on Saturday as dozens of people were left dead and thousands stranded as a result of landslides and floods in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Bangladesh is going to sign a power purchase agreement with Indian companies GMR Karnali Hydropower Company Limited and NTPC Vidyut Vyapar Nigam to buy 500 megawatts of electricity, reports News Prothom Alu.
A quick look at the headlines once again. New Delhi accuses Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka of violating basic diplomatic etiquette. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi urges countrymen to join Poshan Maha campaign in September to eliminate malnutrition. In Mann Ki Baat program, Mr. Modi asks people to come together to increase awareness about the use of millets. Lauds participation of people in Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Kwatra calls on UN General Assembly President Abdullah Shahid in New Delhi. Discusses further deepening of India's strong bilateral relations with Maldives. Foundation stones of Maruti Suzuki's new plants laid in Haryana and Gujarat. India and US Joint Special Forces exercise concludes at Bukla in Himachal Pradesh. In Pakistan, death toll crosses 1,000 in flood-related incidents. In Asia Cup Cricket T20 match, Pakistan set a victory target of 148 runs before India in Dubai. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Benin.
Abhiman
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.